Sure, the Yankees may have lost Gerrit Cole to Tommy John surgery, but the roster still boasted Max Fried, Carlos Rodón, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, Giancarlo Stanton, rising talent Ben Rice, and of course Aaron Judge. Yet, as we fast forward to the trade deadline, the once mighty Bronx Bombers are now scrapping just to secure a postseason berth. So, what went wrong in the Bronx? Can this unraveling campaign still be salvaged? Will Aaron Judge be relegated to designated hitter duties for the remainder of the season following his latest injury setback? And more crucially, what must the Yankees do to guarantee a World Series victory? Before we unpack all that, if you haven't heard, we're hosting a massive giveaway on our road to 25,000 subscribers. I'm gifting one lucky fan an official MLB jersey each week. To enter, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. Show your support, and who knows, you could be our next weekly winner. Now let's dive into it. Heading into the 2025 season, skepticism swirled around the Yankees, and frankly, it wasn't unfounded. Giancarlo Stanton was already sidelined to begin the year. Gerrit Cole needed Tommy John. Luis Gil was battling injuries. Oh, and Juan Soto had just defected to the Mets. Yes, the Yankees still had talent, but the best team in the American League? That felt like a stretch. Even ESPN predicted the Red Sox would edge them out in the AL East. And then something surreal happened. The Yankees exploded out of the gate, obliterating baseballs with relentless fury. Goldschmidt jumps on the first pitch, launched to deep left center, and see ya. Bellinger crushes one to right. Gone. Back to back, and another. Back to back to back. By June 12th, they were 42-24-18 games above. 500, a playoff lock. The division crown all but secured. Then came the turning point. A gut punch delivered by a familiar face. Former Yankee Carlos Narvaez. Narvaez drills a 1-2 pitch deep. Back to the wall. Gone. A walk-off against his former team. That moment shattered the Yankees' rhythm. Boston swept them, and from that series on, New York has stumbled, dropping nearly 10 games below. 500. If the trend continues, the Yanks won't be fighting the Sox or Blue Jays for the top. They'll be scrapping with the Rays and Orioles just to avoid the cellar. But here's the deeper issue. The Yankees are facing far graver concerns than simply playoff contention. During this stretch of mediocrity, it was easy to overlook the warning signs. But let's rewind to one clip in particular. Judge sprints to the corner, makes the catch. But look closer. Grimace. A subtle but unmistakable wince. He's in visible discomfort. Yet he stays in the game. Not for one more play, but for days. This wasn't just a bruise, it was the beginning of something worse. A forearm issue eventually landed him on the IL. And even then, the Yankees failed to act with urgency. Sound familiar? This echoes what happened with Gerrit Cole. The team knew about his injury back in November. They gambled on rehab. He never made it to opening day. Now he's lost for the year. We're not pointing fingers at players or staff, but two eerily similar mishandled situations in 6 months? That's a systemic failure. Now Judge's defensive contributions are off the table. He's limited to DH duties for the foreseeable future. That's not just a defensive loss, it's a lineup crisis. Here's why. When Stanton returned from injury, the question was how he and Ben Rice would split designated hitter responsibilities. Now, with Judge monopolizing the DH slot, there's no room. You've essentially benched two of your most potent bats, Stanton and Rice, not because they're underperforming, but because there's nowhere to play them. The Judge injury isn't just unfortunate, it's lineup sabotage. The Yankees didn't just lose their most potent hitter mid-slump, they lost the very heartbeat of their offense. And even when Aaron Judge returns, it'll come at a steep cost. One of either Giancarlo Stanton or Ben Rice will be displaced from the lineup entirely. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, it's been an outright disaster. Nearly every night, Anthony Volpe is airmailing throws into the seats. Jazz Chisholm is misplaying routine balls, and Jason Domínguez occasionally looks like he forgot how to track a fly ball. It's not just a Judge problem, it's a full-blown organizational breakdown. And the pitching? That's beginning to unravel too. Let's talk Max Fried. He was dominant to start the year, a true ace. But now, from July 1st through July 23rd, he's posted a bloated ERA of 6.52. This isn't just a cold stretch. This is a frontline starter failing to record outs in crunch time. So let's review the Yankees' crisis checklist. Aaron Judge is sidelined. The defense is a liability. The pitching staff is regressing. They have more bats than available spots. And to top it off, manager Aaron Boone is publicly coming unglued. Boone, clearly feeling the pressure, lashed out at reporters saying, "Everyone's different. Stop with the reaction to how a guy answers a question. Just because a player throws his helmet doesn't mean he cares more than the guy who stays calm. Stop it." With Boone unraveling, GM Brian Cashman scrambling for reinforcements, Judge stuck at DH, and Fried in freefall. The Yankees' season looks bleak. But here's the twist. It's not over. Not yet. Let's set the record straight. Even if Aaron Judge requires Tommy John surgery, it doesn't mean his bat vanishes. Remember Shohei Ohtani last season? He captured the AL MVP solely as a designated hitter while recovering from the same surgery. Judge can follow that blueprint. Sure, it's unfortunate that Stanton and Rice might lose their DH reps, but at least the Yankees are finding a way to keep Judge's bat in the lineup. And the front office isn't asleep at the wheel. They just traded for Ryan McMahon, a move that instantly upgrades the infield defense and allows Jazz Chisholm to return to his natural position at second base. Cody Bellinger, he's on an absolute tear. As for Max Fried, bad month, yes, but trust me, he'll bounce back. One rough stretch doesn't define a season. Let's not forget, this is still the New York Yankees, one of the most storied franchises in sports, with one of the biggest payrolls in baseball. They're only a handful of games behind in the AL East and still hold a wild card position. There's a ton of baseball left, but that's the short-term view. Let's zoom out. Aaron Judge is now on the wrong side of 30. His elite outfield athleticism, especially at 6'8", isn't going to last forever. So what's the future? Simple. Move him to first base. Not only does it preserve his longevity, but it solves another glaring issue. Anthony Volpe might struggle with throws, but even he can't overthrow a nearly 7-foot target at first. This also opens up the outfield, making room for AAA phenom Spencer Jones, who's been lighting it up and looks MLB ready. So in many ways, this injury, even with its setbacks, could catalyze a reshaping of the roster that works long-term. Now, I'll admit, I was skeptical about this Yankees squad from the start. Not because they lack talent, but because they haven't unlocked their full potential. Imagine this team with Garrett Cole healthy. Actually, scratch that. You won't have to imagine it. In 2026, you'll see it. Because when next season rolls around, a rotation of Fried, Cole, Rodón, Luis Gil, and Cam Schlittler could be the most formidable in all of baseball. And the bats, they're no slouches either. Every time something goes wrong in the Bronx, it's magnified by the unforgiving New York media machine. Listen to local sports radio and you'd think this team was dead last, battling to avoid 100 losses. Why is Ben Rice catching? Why is DJ LeMahieu still starting? Why is our best second baseman at third? Why haven't we developed Volpe into the star he was supposed to be? They raise real concerns, but often in exaggerated tones. Let's call it what it is. The Yankees do have problems, but not the apocalyptic ones the media portrays. Their core issues stem from complacency, inconsistent player development, and postseason underachievement. Want proof of complacency? Look at the post-Steinbrenner era. Since George passed in 2010, the Yankees have allowed underperforming coaches and execs to stay longer than they should. Aaron Boone has had a longer leash than Joe Torre, who, by the way, won 4 World Series. Hal Steinbrenner doesn't have his father's ruthless obsession with winning. He's okay losing in October if it means raking in record profits. If you live and breathe Yankees baseball and wear those pinstripes with pride, this is a moment you absolutely can't afford to miss. And hey, if you're new around here, do us a favor. Tap that like button, hit subscribe, and never fall behind on the freshest, most electrifying Yankees updates on the web. Now let's step into the batter's box and launch today's major headlines out of the park. Update 1. Baseball bids. Farewell to a Titan. Ryne Sandberg passes away at 65. A wave of sorrow is rippling through the global baseball community today, following the heartbreaking news of Ryne Sandberg's passing at age 65, after a brave battle with metastatic prostate cancer. While Sandberg never donned Yankee pinstripes, his influence on the game transcended team loyalties. An iconic second baseman and a cornerstone of the Chicago Cubs for 15 of his 16 MLB seasons, Sandberg wasn't just consistent, he was transcendent. A career .285 hitter with 282 home runs and 1,061 RBIs, his impact was far more than just statistical. He collected 7 Silver Sluggers, 9 Gold Gloves, and the 1984 NL MVP. A season forever remembered for the legendary Sandberg game, where he belted clutch, game-tying home runs in both the 9th and 10th innings against the Cardinals. Why should Yankees fans care? Because legacies like Sandberg's are the very foundation of the sport we revere. His excellence redefined the second base position, paving the way for today's versatile stars like Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Oswald Peraza. Every iconic franchise, including ours, is built on the greatness of those who elevated the game before them. Beyond the stats, Sandberg exemplified professionalism, resilience, and grace, retiring and then unretiring, later serving as a manager and ambassador of the game. His .989 career fielding percentage at second base set a gold standard for defensive prowess. Outside the lines, his statue at Wrigley Field and the retirement of his number 23 serve as eternal reminders of his significance, not just to Chicago, but to the heart of baseball itself. For Yankees fans, it evokes thoughts of our own monuments and memories. In 30 years, will Aaron Judge be our Sandberg? A legend carved in both stone and soul? We extend our deepest condolences to Sandberg's family, the Cubs organization, and every fan who ever cheered his name. The game feels dimmer today without him. Update 2. Trade deadline tremor. Could the Yankees flip the script and sell? As the trade deadline looms like a thundercloud over the Bronx, the Yankees front office is staring down one of the most pivotal decisions in recent memory. And shockingly, they nearly flipped the switch, from aggressive buyers to reluctant sellers. The catalyst? None other than Aaron Judge, the reigning AL MVP, who recently landed on the 10-day IL with a right elbow flexor strain. And let's be real, the impact was immediate. In a lackluster 2-4 loss to the Rays, the lineup produced just 6 singles and 2 walks. Without Judge, the offense didn't just falter, it flatlined. The entire identity of the team felt unmoored. Insiders now reveal that if Judge had been sidelined for the remainder of the season, the Yankees were seriously contemplating a deadline fire sale. That's how indispensable he is. Fortunately, he's expected back shortly after the deadline, likely as a DH dodging surgery for now. But the mere fact that one injury nearly triggered a white flag moment speaks volumes about the current instability in the Bronx. Let's lay it out. July was a rough ride. 8 wins, 12 losses, and 22 defeats over their last 50 games. That's not the pedigree of a contender. Even with the additions of Ryan McMahon and Ahmed Rosario, the front office remains wary. Whispers have emerged. If the slide continues, Cody Bellinger or Devin Williams, both critical midseason additions, could be flipped as short-term rentals. Imagine moving Bellinger mere weeks after heralding him as the Bronx's new left-handed slugger. It's unthinkable, yet plausible. To be clear, most insiders still view a complete sell-off as highly unlikely, but the mere presence of that discussion signals how precarious things have become. So, what now? According to Joel Sherman of the New York Post, the Yankees are still hunting for 2 relievers, one being a southpaw and another starting arm. But fans shouldn't expect any blockbuster fireworks. Remember our flirtation with Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks? That deal fizzled when Arizona's asking price ballooned to include a major league piece and a top-tier prospect. Bottom line, this team's identity is teetering on a knife's edge. Judge's return may stabilize the ship, but the front office is clearly rattled. Will they double down and go all in? Or will the cracks widen into something irreversible? Thank you guys. See you tomorrow.